This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is made possible by MailChimp. MailChimp is an easy-to-use marketing platform with a name that might make it sound like they only do email. But they do just about everything to help businesses grow, like ads, postcards, landing pages, audience management tools, automations, reports, and more. You could say MailChimp grew so much that they outgrew their name, and their marketing tools can help you do the same. Go to MailChimp.com to sign up for free and see how MailChimp can help grow your business. MailChimp. They do more than mail.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, November 29th, 2018, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. That's the right intro. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. I'm Norm and joined by our regular cast and crew for the first time in what seems like a very, very long time. It actually has been a very, very long time. It's Jeremy Williams.
Hi, Norman.
And Kishore Hari.
Hello, Mr. Norm.
Welcome back, you guys. You guys were off the podcast for a week.
I was a little sad to miss your triumphant return since you became a daddy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ditto. I will say that was delightful to see the quote-unquote original crew back together again last week.
There's no quote-unquote. It is the original crew.
Well, I think there were some debates whether Gary was there at the very first podcast.
Sure.
I listened to it.
It wasn't a full Wangcast either.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I will. It's a good listen. If you're listening to this right now, you want to rewind, go listen to it. It's a lot of fun. Don't listen to it while you're making Thanksgiving dinner like I did. It was a mistake. There's lots of discussion in last week's podcast that is not food appropriate.
Hey, man, everybody was born.
I don't know if this week we'll have a lot of discussion that makes it food appropriate. I'm looking at the topics, and there's definitely some poo there. I'm not going to talk about changing diapers. We'll get that out of the way. It's messy. Guys, you guys both have children. You guys both have boys.
Yes.
It's messy.
You know what?
Why didn't someone tell me how messy it would be?
Yeah.
You're a boy. You kind of know what's
I
happening.
don't remember that part of my life. I don't remember how explosive it could be.
Honestly, you won't remember this part either. Eventually, they'll be out of diapers and changing themselves, and life will be wonderful.
Is it bad that at 3 weeks now is how old my son is, that I'm already Googling how long it will be before he stops with this phase of his life?
Normal behavior. I would say that Jeremy's right. You won't remember this. And it's literally you won't remember it because you're not getting enough sleep for your memories to actually stay intact. They're degrading now. Welcome to being a dad.
Oh my God. Is this what that 15%, is that what the freshman 15 is for being a dad? The 15% of your brain that goes away?
Has any of your technology that you amassed before having your child assisted you so far in the past month?
No, nor has it been used. It just sits there.
Yeah.
Like, use me. Put on this headset. Please put me on.
Do you think they will make a diaper-changing robot one day?
Oh, my goodness. I wish. I wish. Because the robot won't care if it's shat on.
Probably on Kickstarter.
The robot can do a good job, can wipe.
This is where Judgment Day begins. Conversations like that the robots won't care being shat upon.
You know, and I'm sorry for people who don't want to hear about the baby stuff, but I'm going to go into it anyway because it's top of mind right now.
It's possible we could add a segment, like a weekly bunch of dads kind of segment.
It could be a whole podcast unto itself. If it was a segment, I mean, I guess segment would be good in that it would constrain the time.
Yeah.
You're forced to distill the thoughts. But prior to having a baby, in the weeks leading up to the birth, and even the months, the one thing I would ask other parents are, what were the things you bought that you didn't need, or what were the things you wish you thought of that you didn't get, and got a bunch of recommendations and, did as best we could. I still find the advice inadequate. I'm sorry. It's not just being, there is so, I'll tell you.
I feel like he just put us down.
It sounds
a
like
little
somebody needs to write their own book.
The one thing that I wish people told me more about, and the thing that's real, I think makes a big difference day to day, hour by hour.
What is it?
The quality of the wet wipes.
Wet wipe. Oh, okay.
The quality of the wet wipes. Just no name, generic brand. Huggies even wet wipes, insufficient.
Where
I'll
have
tell
you
you
landed
The
now?
best thing is water wipes. They're more expensive, but they're wetter. They absorb more, and they wipe more. They don't dry out as fast. And if you have a wet wipe heater, which we have now, the baby's much happier.
You can tell.
Oh yeah, I'm happier.
The heater is a ridiculous thing.
You're happy.
I'm
Let the
happier.
baby toughen up a little bit.
Ah, that's great. You know, when we were kids, we did.
They wipe with our hands.
We didn't even have disposable diapers.
We rubbed the baby's butt on a bunch of rocks in the,
right.
in the river, in the stream, and they were good.
true.
Yeah, exactly. The diaper changes. You get used to it. I'm used to it by now. But every time it's a game of Russian roulette. Not whether the poo is there or not, because I hate it when I open the diaper and there's no poo.
Yeah.
Because that's a waste of a diaper. But whether there will be more poo before the diaper change is complete.
Yeah.
That's the gamble.
You got to get your time down. You got to
Yeah.
get that stopwatch going. See how fast you can get that diaper changed, and learn the precautions.
I can do it with the one hand.
The mid-change precautions.
The mid-change, you
Yeah.
want to avoid the spray. I
Right.
mean, this is all hard lessons learned because we've had, eruptions in the sorry, geologists for using the Richter scale, but eruptions in the 6 or 7.0 level mid-change. I would say 5-6 inches of projectile.
I'd like to get 3 babies in here and let the 3 of us compete for diaper changing time.
Oh, we're way out of practice.
That's okay. I think it's like riding a bike. I think I can do it. Get some
Stop by the hospital.
live commentary.
Yeah.
Borrow some babies.
some babies.
I call color commentator there.
Yeah.
Ooh,
maybe
it's a little
baby
green
share.
this today.
Yeah. The dummies, the mannequins they're insufficient for the amount of squirming and wiggling and the projectile shooting that real babies can do. Oh, those after sharts. Like, don't make it angry.
Okay.
Don't make it angry. All right, that's enough of the. How are your Thanksgivings?
You mean how was my Black Friday?
I thought Black Friday had seen its ascendancy and it was over.
It's been over for a number of years.
Okay.
I was just trying to, reminisce there for a moment because this was a terrible shopping celebration this year. No stampedes that I heard
I'm sure
about.
there were stampedes. The media just clamped down the reporting. They're so boring now. It's all that online. Like what is it now? It's honestly it's a week of spam mail is what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
mailing
everything is
lists just
online now.
explode. And they've started on Wednesday, and then Thursday. There are names for everything, right? Thursday's Thanksgiving. Wednesday's the pre-Black Friday. There's Black Friday. What is it? Small Business Saturday, and
Didn't know about that.
Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday, and then Digital Monday or
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday.
Cyber,
That's
dude.
right. That's right. I did this at the 10%. I don't remember now. Yeah.
That's worthy of forgetting.
But the food was good.
Food was great. I went to my sister's place in D.C. and she makes a tandoori turkey.
Get out.
And I'm telling you right now, if your turkey is not glowing an unnatural shade of red, you are doing it wrong.
Is it cooked in the tandoor?
Yes, it is.
How big of a turkey?
Wow.
We did a 12 because we actually did 2 turkeys. Because if
12
you're
pounders?
gonna follow up a tandoori turkey, what's the other way to make it? You gotta deep fry it. So
Yeah,
I was outside in the cold deep frying a turkey. While my
Dude.
sister was making a tandoori.
That
sounds
sounds
amazing.
amazing.
It was wonderful.
Leftovers.
And you know what that
Good.
pairs well with? Anything, because it's a goddamn tandoori turkey. So mashed potatoes goes with it. Dressing, fine. Stuffing also goes with it.
Why not?
How about your Thanksgiving, Jeremy?
I was at the same place I've been for 30 years, which is a hotel. My family gets together. There's like 25 of us. We get together at a hotel in Virginia, and we have a grand time. And you don't have to have turkey. Some people had trout,
Is it kind of like The Shining? Is it that kind of hotel?
Yeah, it's that kind of hotel. But we had a good time. It's good to see everybody. It's good to let the kids play with their cousins now and then.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I want to give one shout out from my trip to DC. The DC monuments hold up. That's a wonderful experience. It had been like
Hold up.
it's been like, I don't know, 15, 20 years since I really went to a lot of the memorials and monuments. And spending time at I went to Teddy Roosevelt's one, which is on an island, and then FDR's one, which I hadn't been to in 15 years, and then seeing all the quotes at MLK and in the Jefferson Memorial. I forgot how affecting the Korean memorial was, where you actually feel like you're transported a little bit to Korea and seeing them sort of walk through stuff. It is a really humbling experience, and it brought out that American pride that I have deep within myself. And it was just awesome reading so many of the quotes.
I don't think many people know about the FDR Memorial. It's in an island in the Potomac, right? Isn't that
The Teddy Roosevelt one's on
Yeah.
the island. The FDR one is kind of
right?
not
That's
far
what it
from
is.
Lincoln.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Was it packed there? And how's the weather?
The weather was perfect. I went a couple days before Thanksgiving, and it was like 50 and clear. And then we went skating on an ice rink next to the National Gallery Smithsonian building, which is awesome. It was basically a perfect day. The crowds weren't overwhelming, but there was enough people there that there was sort of an excitement to it.
I was in Virginia too, obviously, and when I was at Dulles, I photographed an advertisement I saw on the wall that was just a generic healthcare business that wants you to know about them.
Sure.
And the focal point of the ad, big, billboard in the hallway in Dulles, is a computer monitor. And on the computer monitor, I noticed all these patient names, and they're all people from The Simpsons. Every last one of them is a character from The Simpsons.
And it's just like a screen with a small screen that can read.
It's a big screen. It's
Oh,
like
it's
a
a big
major
screen.
part
Oh.
of the ad.
Wow.
And I thought that's odd. Like, that must be an Easter egg. Some designer did that. So I tweeted it. It got a lot of attention. And the guy who designed the image on the computer screen actually joined the conversation.
What?
And apparently he designed this open source software that any hospital can use. And this advertising company just used his screenshot that he had posted on his site
Oh my gosh.
in their ad.
So it wasn't even the marketing people. It was
No.
just his
And
way of selling his software.
Like, I don't think the people who actually posted this ad know what they did. Like, they don't know those are Simpsons characters. Nobody who works for that company knows. That was just funny. I just thought that was pretty funny. It was neat, like a little small world experience to have the guy who did the thing join in.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So good travels, and I stayed at home. We didn't travel.
Of course you did.
Of course.
We didn't want to take the baby anywhere. I did leave the house, and I'll say on Thanksgiving Day, the hardest working people on Thanksgiving Day, I mean the hardest, but some very hardworking people on Thanksgiving Day are the employees of Boston Market.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah, and I did have to make a stop at 4 p.m. to get some sides and pies from Boston Market, and
Wait, Thanksgiving Day?
on Thanksgiving Day
They're
they were
open?
open till 5 p.m.
That's crazy.
And their cream spinach is fantastic.
I hope they were paid overtime.
I hope so too, because they had to deal with
Hazard
some
pay.
surly people and some people who were unprepared. I guess myself included.
On that point, you would think the UPS drivers very busy that day on not Thanksgiving Day, but like the
day
Black
after?
Friday
The whole thing,
around
yeah.
that period. Apparently, my driver, they said that they bulked up and then at the last minute they cut shifts because packages were way down. Now, my question is that true across the board? Because I've noticed Amazon ships UPS very seldom for me these days. It's all USPS and their own internal courier system. And I wonder if that's part why. I'm curious. If there's any UPS drivers out there, I'm curious. Are your Amazon shipments down?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys listened to the podcast, The Daily.
Oh,
but
that was
they
horrifying.
They did a whole episode
No.
about the and maybe this will talk into something in the tech discussion, but New York Times did a profile of the companies that do fulfillment for not Amazon, but for companies like shoe companies like Nike or it's other retailers who have to compete in that digital space who didn't build up from the ground up fulfillment centers and infrastructure like Amazon did, but still have to meet those kind of standards. Your 2-day delivery, and it is not good. The working conditions, it sounds like, in those fulfillment centers, those logistics companies, these multi-billion-dollar companies. So I really feel for a lot of the people who work there.
It's an excellent listen. If you do listen to it, prepare yourself to hear some horrifying things. All that being said, I just want to echo what Norm said. Thanks to all the people that put in extra hours this weekend. It's an unforgiving time oftentimes, and it's deeply appreciated.
Top story this week.
Top story this week is Out of This World.
Are you ready to try this? Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. move the shoulders, elbows.
That was no good.
No.
I apologize to all of NASA for what we just tried to attempt.
Jeremy and Kishore attempted the now internet famous JPL handshake that was seen on the live stream for this week's successful Mars InSight landing.
This is great. This whole story is great. It's probably the most exciting thing of the week. I guess that's why it's here. But when you guys watch something like this and it's starting out and they haven't, like, entry hasn't begun yet, are you optimistic? Because I'm kind of like, this probably won't work.
Oh, I feel the reverse. At this point, NASA has demonstrated so much capability about this that, I was just thinking back to Curiosity and just remembering the confidence that they showed. And
I mean,
in walking away, I get that there's risk inherent, but NASA has instilled that confidence in me. We rarely see failures anymore.
I think the way they presented the stream, first of all, the way they presented information in the stream with the commentators, with the camera stream, is a top-notch production. It makes something that is very science, something that's very abstract, engaging for hundreds of thousands of people. I think 500,000 people watch it on the YouTube stream. It makes that fun to watch. And they're cautious, right? They have to hedge what they say because they, as confident as they are, it is still a lot of variability and a lot of risk. And I think as people who've watched previous launches and landings and understand the difficulty, maybe even if you've watched any movie about space exploration, right? Any documentary, you understand everything's like a moonshot because you're doing incredible things that you're setting up, 6 months before, years before, in hopes that it will happen, and it's completely out of your control in that moment. I still think it's nerve-wracking. I feel like you, Jeremy. I think I'm embracing myself for failure.
Yeah, I'm like more than 50% sure something's going to go wrong. And when it doesn't, when they actually land successfully and there's cheering, I tear up and I get so excited for these people that have succeeded in doing something darn near miraculous.
I tear up too. Literally, I was in a meeting and my boss, we were on a video conference, and my boss hit mute on our room and started going, USA, USA. When the announcement came. Look, it is an amazing feat.
Yeah.
To essentially send a minivan across the cosmos and land perfectly, basically in a meadow on a plane on another planet. It is crazy, the accuracy, the precision that we saw from NASA. But I've grown to expect that because that's how good they are.
Recently, we have seen some amazing things. You're right. And recently, NASA has a great track record. But on balance, I think they have 15 attempted missions to Mars, and 7 or 8 now have been successful. So I guess they're batting.
Let's give it up for the
it.
actual the weird technical aspects of this.
Yes.
It's the first time we sent CubeSats interplanetary. These are 10 centimeter cube
No.
little satellites.
What? No, the briefcase size.
Well,
I've seen mock-ups in person when I went to, they're cereal box size.
Okay.
So briefcase, cereal box,
Yeah.
they're very small. The 2 Marco satellites.
They're probably in their compact form, and then they have
They deploy.
a really neat. It's a dish, but it's flat, and that's for transmission back to Earth. And it was the way for us to get real-time data back about the landing.
But they weren't mission critical.
No.
Right?
No.
This is a proof of concept that they set up for this type of satellite, which didn't deploy from. They actually traveled the whole journey independently. They weren't deployed at the very end to Mars orbit. They deployed basically right after launch and
Oh, their own propulsion?
flew with the momentum,
yeah.
Right.
but themselves.
Huh.
And so there are lots of opportunity for failure there.
I did read that they had little thrusters.
Yes.
And they were identical. They only sent 2 in case one failed.
Right.
And they were designed by a young team at the JPL. Not like the senior guys. This is just some scrappy young Skunkworks team.
You can watch a tested video where we interview some of that team back when they launched it.
And if they had failed, the Mars orbiter would have relayed that information slightly later.
Yep.
But it was just an experiment to see, can this be done? And they pulled it off. Not just one of them, but both
2.
of them.
And it's super awesome.
I think what was understated on the broadcast is I think we all think that the landing is really hard, and it totally is. But one of the things I think we undercount is that because Mars's atmosphere is so much less thick than the Earth atmosphere.
Thinner.
Thinner, yeah.
Yes.
That's the other word for that. How to slow down gets much more complicated because you have less to push against to slow you down.
Yes.
And so I still think that is the most amazing thing anytime they land something on Mars.
Yeah.
Is thinking how they actually slowed it down appreciably and then the landing safely, because there's a million different designs they've gone through to get to this point, and they still use different designs. There's been like balloon designs and like a crane arm design, and there's all these different things, but without air it becomes like slowing down is really hard.
Yes.
So I'm still always amazed.
So they obviously they have to come in at the exact right angle. If it's too steep, they'll burn up. If it's too shallow, they'll bounce off as if you're throwing a rock onto a lake. So they come in just the right angle. Then the heat shield absorbs 1,000-degree temperature, enough to melt steel.
Yep.
And then they kick that off and launch a supersonic parachute.
What's super stressful is that because there's so many things that have to work in concert, if something goes wrong, it's difficult to identify what's wrong, right? Like when there are failures in rocket launches, planet side here, at least we can collect the debris, as unfortunate as that would be. But if it's on Mars, that's it.
And there is debris on Mars. There have been attempted landings by other nations, and we are the only one who has successfully landed a lander or rover on the planet.
It's pretty awesome. But the work is just beginning, of course. InSight is robot geologist. It will dig into a couple feet into on the surface of Mars and detect tremors and send back all sorts of cool info.
More than
and
a couple
pictures.
feet. I think 5 meters.
Yeah.
It can go down a maximum of. And it's got a seismometer it places down in order to measure Mars quakes. But that thing is so sensitive, even to wind, that they place on top of it a windshield.
A big dome.
Yeah.
It deploys.
And we're using the driller. They can detect going down 3 meters, 5 meters. They can detect. They can at least surmise the core of Mars.
Yeah. They were saying that when they were testing that seismometer as they were making it on one coast of the United States could detect things happening on the other coast.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's extremely sensitive.
And I was curious because I noticed that it landed kind of near Opportunity. And I was curious, like, is it possible, like, Opportunity could visit, just to get a picture?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. But it's way too far. It's not. It would be a huge waste of expense for it to do that. But it would also interfere with that seismometer.
I think what's more interesting, you talk about the sensitivity of the instrument, but the geologic information is going to be critical to understanding water on Mars, just the basic history of that planet in a much more rich way. So I think there's a lot that this instrument's going to garner. I have one complaint. I have one super minor complaint to NASA.
You didn't get your name on it?
No, I don't deserve to have my name on it.
No, you could buy those. You could
That's
buy, like,
right. I
etchings.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
No, that's not my complaint.
We should say this was supposed to launch 2 years ago.
Yes, it was slightly delayed.
Well, they had to wait for the next cycle.
Yeah.
To be close to Mars again.
There's only a once every 2 year window.
Yeah.
My complaint is that there's a Twitter account for InSight.
Yeah.
And Vice President Pence congratulated NASA and the whole JPL team
After the landing.
and it quote tweeted him back.
Oh,
But
he tweeted
he
congrats.
tweeted at
Got it.
JPL. He tweeted congrats.
Yeah.
And then InSight quote tweeted and said thank you for the support or something. It didn't wait the proper 8 minutes for that tweet transmission to get all the way to Mars. I feel like they should have just instituted the right amount of time for the transmission
Wow.
distance. I get that they're tweeting
Some
from
space
Earth.
channels are open.
I just feel like they went about a minute too early on that.
Yeah, it's not clear to some people that NASA isn't controlling that lander during that landing phase either. And they are not. It's impossible
They
to do
controlled
that.
it 8 minutes ago when it's
They
a maneuver.
They gave it instructions, and it's on its own for that whole process. And I just find that miraculous. I'm so proud of that team.
Very cool. All right, let's move on to some pop culture news.
Do you know that the what are they called? The cube bots?
CubeSats.
CubeSats.
Marco.
That they communicated with the lander over UHF. I mean, that harkens back to the early days of the space program, and it's like old school TV signals.
Analog
Yeah.
radio signals.
And they couldn't slow down. So like they're just like they got the signal, they like sent it back to Earth, and they're like, "See ya!" They're like off.
I haven't seen you this excited about something in a while. I think we got to take you to JPL. Let you just totally geek out.
I've been there. I was there for like the initial 7 Minutes of Terror reveal, like when they showed that movie for the first time. Adam was there. He was there for the landing.
Yeah. We'll talk. Hopefully, we'll talk to him about that on the podcast this
he
week.
was at JPL this week for the landing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. We didn't
Barry
know.
in the lead.
I know. We'll talk about it on Still Entitled.
He tweeted. You can see photos.
All right. Back to some pop culture. Now we've been following, of course, the demise of Filmstruck, which I think maybe by the time you listen to this may no longer exist. End of this month. That's right. Filmstruck is going away. Very unfortunate. And they had a partnership with the Criterion Collection, which announced subsequently that they were going to start their own movie subscription service. And now we finally have pricing for that. But if you're interested in that Criterion service, they're launching what they're calling charter memberships, which means you can sign up early before they launch it next year, and you don't pay until they start it, I think. But it's like the price is $100 a year as opposed to like $120 a year or something, and save a little bit there. I think if you're a movie fan and you like watching old films, or you like even watching Criterion Collection films without having to purchase those films, this is something that you should consider signing up for. I'm totally going to do it.
How are they doing all of their extra stuff?
I don't think they are.
Commentary tracks?
They didn't have those on Filmstruck. And so I don't know if this is a licensing thing, but this is the thing I'm increasingly noticing as a difference between buying things, a digital purchase of a movie versus the physical purchase. There's going to be some parity, and I think Chris McQuarrie, director of Mission Impossible, talked about this recently in an interview about how he didn't understand why there wasn't parity, but like if you buy a movie on iTunes, you get a selection of special features. There are special features there, like if you buy Lord of the Rings, but you're not going to get what was included in the Blu-ray. And I think it's because when they made those special features, the licensing for those features specifically was via that distribution network, that medium. And so as studios, I think studios are pushing people more toward digital purchases rather than physical purchases because, of course, there's almost no
DRM.
additional costs,
Yeah.
and there's DRM built in. And that's why they release them early. They will start moving and getting parity. But for something like Criterion, I don't think I don't know if they have the rights for a lot of those special features. They did commission a lot of the vignettes and the featurettes for Filmstruck, and I think they're going to continue doing those.
And the commentary track. Oh, maybe not for Filmstruck, but like they did their own commentary tracks
Right.
just for Blu-rays.
So if they have the rights, then maybe that will be there as well. What we can expect is it won't be their entire Criterion collection, of course. It'll be kind of a seasonal thing where they'll phase
cycle
in films in and out.
It was hard listening to you last week talk about what services do you get,
Right.
and how this fits in, because this was beyond my borders of what I'm willing to go.
Well,
to.
the way I framed it, I think, was something that everyone out there should think about. It's less about what's the max services that you would subscribe to, because I think that's kind of a moving goalpost that people will just say, I can put another $5 down. I'll put that's just another cup of coffee. It's which ones would you cut first? What are your 3 bottom services that you would cut? I'm putting it out there to you guys right now.
I mean, you aren't wrong about Amazon Prime. It's the one I watch the least, but it's Amazon Prime, so I'm not cutting it. I think the one I watch the least is Hulu, out of the ones I own.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I wasn't even a Hulu subscriber until I had my parents come stay with us and they watch Hulu, so I got it. No, yeah, Hulu's out the door.
Hulu's my first to cut.
There's overlap. I mean, Hulu served a purpose for what was kind of like your live TV option, day after. But now that there are live TV things with YouTube TV or Philo or whatever, then you really don't need Hulu except for some
Handmaid's.
Handmaid's Tale, exactly.
I think that's number one to go. I think any of the CBS All Access, all that kind of stuff, is right there with it. And I'm not as bullish on Disney as you guys were last week.
Jeremy, I feel like you might have a different opinion.
I haven't heard last week's, but I would imagine I differ with you on this, Kishore. I'm more excited about that than anything, I think.
That's what Gary and Will were saying. They were all in already.
How are you not excited about this?
I get all the the lines show up. Like we get the things from the vault. You get the Marvel movies. You get the
No, the new
Disney
stuff.
movie.
The new,
movies.
like, made
then you get the
for-
originals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get all the layers. I don't know. Like I guess I am jaded. Like I think Netflix has jaded me about the quality of original programming that's coming out on these services. It used to be a bigger deal when the originals came out because there's so few of them.
Yeah.
Now there's like 3 every time I turn on Netflix. And so the hit rate is way down. And so I feel like I'm in this place where prove it to me first. Like I want to see what the reactions are. I'm not going to be an early adopter on Disney. I'm going to wait and see if it's really that vital. I've seen all those Marvel movies. And the Vault, I don't know how much that's going to sway me.
Okay, man. That's a good perspective. That's good. You should have that perspective. Everyone should. That will challenge Disney to do a good job.
I hope that for things like Netflix, as some of their movies, at least independently produced, or their Netflix original movies are hitting theaters, you could just use something like a Movie Pass to watch those and get it there, because you have to bundle in not just your TV subscription monthly recurring costs, but something like a Movie Pass, or in my case, the AMC Pass, which I still haven't canceled yet. And they announced a week and a half ago that they're raising prices for.
How much? What is it now?
Well, it was $20 a month before for 3 movies a week.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that they wouldn't do reduction in number of movies, because I think if you go from 3 movies a week to 2 movies a week, 1, people would complain, and 2, I don't think that really would change behavior that much.
Okay.
Right? I don't think
But
many
you're going
people-
to create the sense that you're taking away something.
Yes, exactly. So they raised the price. So they're going to raise the price starting next year, and it's different price raises for depending on where you live. In some
What?
states where the service is not in high demand, no price hike. In
What kinda-
16 states where the app is most popular, right? Colorado, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Washington State, and D.C.,
Wow.
that goes up to $22, a $2 price hike.
Okay.
Now in the big
hate
states,
this.
California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, $4 price hike
Wow.
a month.
I
Why do you hate this?
hate this.
It's good business.
I get why everyone is on board with dynamic pricing. Dynamic pricing I get at sports events. Something's in demand.
Yep.
We raise the price to meet that demand. I was in D.C. last week, as I said. There's a road that has dynamic pricing on it for the toll. And so the toll went up from like a low rate of $2, or no, not 2, it was like 4, to $13.50. And then my sister said that sometimes it goes up to $50.
Oh my gosh.
$50?
Yeah, and I think that's what you get is just more inequity for the same product and no variation in service. I get why they're doing it, but it's the equivalent thing. The sports thing is different.
And it's a slippery slope, because here they're talking about demand geographically based. It's not even based on movies. With Movie Pass, as that subscription is waning, they became more restrictive in terms of popularity of movies. And I would be furious over this if it was like, for all Marvel movies, you only get 1 per month or something, or if it was price hike month to month, it was different. Here, it's across the board. I think they're going to reach a point where $24 is a lot of money, but they're also looking at these states where movie ticket prices are generally higher, right? It's more expensive to watch a movie in San Francisco than it is to watch a movie in Iowa. And there are more of these, Dolby Cinemas or more IMAXs, and so they have to pay higher portions of these fees to the studios. If it goes over 25, I'm not going to do it. That's my stance on the matter.
24 or 50, that's my limit. Is that what you're saying?
$24.95 is my limit.
You get a discount on the concessions?
You do get a discount on concessions, size upgrade and points. But one of the reasons I haven't canceled my subscription is because anyone who was a grandfathered member gets the original pricing for a full year.
Let me just encourage you right now, as a new father, that you should just cancel because you are not getting your $25 worth anytime soon.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear you hadn't canceled yet, because I know you haven't seen the movie in November.
I know. November is a wasted month. And in December, I don't know. A lot of good movies coming out in December. A lot of good
Yeah.
movies coming out in end of this month. I want to see Wreck-It Ralph.
You know what costs more than a movie ticket though? A divorce.
No,
That's
we both go together. We take the baby. Why not take the baby? Baby's nice and quiet.
Dark, dude. I
It was a little
I
dark.
would have said a babysitter.
Yeah, babysitter costs more than a movie ticket.
Take the baby.
Take the baby.
Take the baby.
Do they have baby showing?
Put the
Don't be
baby
that
in a
guy.
swaddle.
You take that guy, I'm off this podcast. I quit. You can't take that baby to the movie.
No.
Oh.
Will not take the baby. I want to watch. I think next month I'm gonna try to make at least one movie, and it probably will be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Aquaman.
I want to see that too.
Yeah.
First impressions of Aquaman have been pretty good so far, but
Have they?
reviews of
Yeah.
Spider-Man, 30 reviews right now on Rotten Tomatoes. You want to know what the score is?
Is it 3 digits?
It's 3 digits.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
It's 3 digits.
I don't know how they get that. I feel like
100%.
they let a few people see it who are bound to like it, and then they.
I've seen some haters in that list of reviewers.
Really?
I recognize some names.
It's it. I mean, it looks good.
I think Slash Film's editor-in-chief said it was the best Marvel movie this year.
I was worried
Black
when
Panther came out this year.
was-
Infinity War came out this year.
I was worried when Spider-Ham came out in the trailer. Spoiler.
Me too.
But hey, I'm all in on the animated train.
This-
I've been a big DC animated universe honk for a while. No reason I can't be on that Marvel animated universe
just
train.
even if you didn't speak the language, the visual language of this film is so unique. It's like, Waking Life. I mean, it's not that style, but it's like when you saw Waking Life, you're like, that's totally different. And I'm going to watch it just for the spectacle. And this has that appeal too.
And also the creative team behind it is Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They didn't direct it, but they I think they wrote it, the draft, or co-wrote the screenplay or something.
Huh.
I'm super pumped for this film. So very excited for that. Back on Disney side, have not seen Wreck-It Ralph yet.
Neither have I.
None of us
You
have.
guys have no excuses.
Well, I mean, kind of. I was in the mountains.
I made a Harry Potter choice. That was the wrong choice.
You made a crime. You committed a crime.
I did commit a
That's a
crime.
Rotten Tomato, that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
You know what? That's correct.
But in front of Wreck-It Ralph was a trailer for, well, something that I don't know if it resonates with the kids these days, but certainly resonates with anyone who grew up in the 80s and 90s. It's the new version of The Lion King. The fastest viewed trailer in all Disney of all time. Now, a little controversial.
Wait, what?
It got more views in the first 24 hours than any Disney trailer ever has.
Disney,
Including Marvel?
Star Wars?
Yes.
Infinity War?
I believe so.
Given how many times I refresh that page, that counts as individual views, right?
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
You watch 7 seconds.
I mean, I know Lion King has a following, but that's amazing.
I think people are it's curiosity. It's the nostalgia, the history. I think kids these days. You showed your kids Lion King, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They love Lion King, and it has endured because of the musical. You're watching the trailer right now.
They
Sure.
didn't. They did not love Lion King.
I was trying.
No,
to watch the
it does
trailer.
not resonate as well as it did when it came out.
Is it because of the animation style?
Possibly. It's cell based. I
there
mean, it
you
has a little bit of 3D in it, but I don't know. You would hope that the story would be what mattered.
It's Hamlet.
Okay.
They like Hamlet.
Yeah. The kids don't like Shakespeare anymore.
That's
Are
the
we going
problem.
to get some Hakuna Matata?
That is a real good question.
Is it like a 1-to-1 kind of thing, only CG? It's
Isn't
a
that
realistic.
Disney's thing? Disney's thing in the remakes, and they have had live action remakes of a lot of their animated films, right? From
Jungle Book.
Cinderella, The Jungle Book, and this is the closest to Jungle Book because it's Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
I believe it's the same animation company that's doing it. Now to call it live action, it's photoreal,
Yeah.
but I don't think any of it is live, right? Unless they did some filming of some terrain and CG some animals on there.
But are you suggesting the whole film is CG?
That's what I'm thinking.
Really?
I don't think
even the
this-
jungle scenes, all the deserts.
That's
really.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that Cinefex episode,
Me too.
episode issue to come out for me to read that. But the characters are clearly CG,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it looks good.
It looks really good. Like the CG is excellent.
I think you make a really good point. Will they have some of the more comedic elements now that the cast has been announced? It's going to be John Oliver as the bird.
Timor? Oh, the bird. What's the bird's name?
I think there will be Timor. I think Josh Gad is in there. I want to say it may be just in every Disney movie.
What
But-
about the little? What are they? Coyotes?
Or the hyenas.
Hyenas, yeah.
I think so. I think it's got to be a kid movie.
Was that Whoopi
As-
Goldberg?
No.
No. Who was
No.
the hyenas? They were.
No.
I mean, they were all famous voices.
No.
Okay.
What was my point? 15% brain power lost. Two things. One, a little bit controversial because the original creative team, a lot of the writers and the artists who worked on the animated film did not get rights to get royalties for this. So they are completely cut off essentially. And so just something, it's a business thing. It's a union thing. But they don't get royalties.
Yeah.
On that type of format because animated films were not treated with the same regard. And so for this remake, they're unfortunately not getting any of the royalties either. Also, you guys have seen the Lion King musical, right?
No.
I have.
Negative.
The Lion King musicals, which Julie Taymor directed and did incredible art direction for, is most well known probably for its opening number.
Yeah, it like
And-
punches you in the face. It's so
With
forceful.
and the costuming, the music, the majesty, the creativity of how they had stage performers also become these characters. And for me, the first time I saw it, loved it until they got to Timon and Pumbaa. It just didn't work. It became Disney on Ice the moment Timon and Pumbaa came on stage. And so my fear for Lion King movie for this one is that once the Timon and Pumbaa aspect comes in, I don't know if this style of CG will work well for that.
And Timon is Billy Eichner, who is already kind of a caricature of himself, and Pumbaa is Seth Rogen, I think. So we got some characters. So we'll see how it works out. I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'm skeptical on Disney, all things Disney. I'm not hating on it.
You certainly are.
Is that hating? I'm just being
No, I appreciate that.
appropriately skeptical.
You know what? I'm like, I don't know what happened. I was not a huge Lion King fan. It didn't hit me like it hit the rest of the world. So I'm not even all that excited about it from that standpoint. But it does look really good. And I have kids who like to go to the movies. So I'll probably see it.
All right. Well, if they don't like going to the movies, you can always watch things on Netflix. And maybe the kids like Minecraft because there's a new Minecraft thing launching on Netflix soon.
Thing?
It's
Why do you call it a thing?
Because what is it? It's not a movie. It's not a TV show. It's an interactive piece of entertainment.
Boy, that's going to mislead some people. People are going to think you can play Minecraft on Netflix.
Yeah.
You know? It's a choose your own adventure. And I swear they should freaking license that series and turn it into an animated, series of their own. But what this is a Minecraft cartoon. It's called Story Mode that you watch, and then at key moments you make critical decisions and you control the fate of the characters on screen. I have not watched it yet.
I haven't watched it either. Telltale actually worked on this, RIP.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids Minecraft enabled?
My kid isn't.
Let's hope not.
What will your kid's first video game be?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Really good question.
Alpha Baby.
What's Alpha?
You have a Mac, right? You have a MacBook?
No.
Yeah, well, it's only MacBook. Look up Alpha Baby. My kids love Minecraft, or at least have in certain phases of their life. Why? Why?
I'm just curious, are they itching to do this? Have they heard about it on the playground kind of thing?
No, dude. If it's not Fortnite, it's not cool.
Yeah. My kid came home the other day, and everyone, he's super into Dude Perfect now, that YouTube channel where they do trick shots. And I think they talk about it during recess.
What, Minecraft?
No, Dude Perfect.
Oh.
They talk about the
Gotcha,
latest
gotcha.
Dude Perfect video.
Yeah.
So that's why I was wondering if it's the scuttlebutt at school.
I don't think so. Maybe there's some cool kids out there for whom the Netflix technology will be interesting. But I highly doubt it. Although I'll watch this with my 8-year-old. I think she'd be into this because we do like the Choose Your Own Adventure books in my family.
And they're doing a Choose Your Own Adventure series in this style. And also that Black Mirror episode is going to take advantage of it sometime next season.
That's interesting.
So can't wait for that. Yeah, I still stand by the Black Mirror decisions lock you into your choices. You view it the one time and lock it into your account. This is the only way you can watch that episode going forward.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
and then
it'd be the most Black Mirror.
talk to your friends about what
Yeah.
experience they had.
Right. Yeah,
What if you watch on multiple devices at the same time?
At the same time?
Yeah. Is it like the first one to choose?
Yep.
Everyone else gets locked to that choice?
Yep.
Everyone on your family account? Yep.
Yeah, that's an easy technology problem for them to solve. Yeah. Netflix also announced a big partnership with the Roald Dahl family, the estate, to produce new animated shows in what they're calling the Roald Dahl Story Universe. Now, A lot of questions about what this means. Of course, Roald Dahl was the author of stories like The BFG, Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I think it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Is
The original is Charlie.
Yeah.
The
The movie is Willy
Gene
Wonka.
Wilder's Willy
Yes.
Wonka.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
You haven't named my favorite one
The
yet.
Twits.
James and Giant Peach.
James and the Giant Peach, stop motion classic now. And these will be retold in animation form. I wonder if they're going to keep the Quentin Blake style illustration as the aesthetic. I would really like that. Probably not. It's probably
don't
gonna-
think so.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But the insinuation is that these stories will somehow be connected because it's a story universe. And that's a new hot thing right now. Get people to watch one show and then watch the other shows because there's
Money.
some type of connection.
Because money.
Yeah, not necessarily creativity.
Speaking of stop motion, have you guys seen the Apple ad? The 2 or 3 minute Apple ad? Did you watch that yet?
No.
Yeah, it's with a woman, a girl, young woman, sitting at her laptop, and she's being creative, but she's very private with all of her things, and so she hides them in a box, and her dog eventually releases them into the air, and they blow away, and she's all nervous because now she's going to be exposed, and she runs out into the world, and it's a happy ending. But then there's Apple also released a making of video, which you really must watch and I would recommend watching it after you've seen the ad because you'll be very surprised about what was real and what was CG in the ad itself.
Which side were you more surprised by?
How much was real?
Oh, okay.
It's astounding. The amount of artistry in this ad is really, really quite impressive. So go watch that.
And this is why there are behind the scenes pieces because otherwise people would just assume
Yeah.
all CG. All CG. You asked about what might be my child's first game. It'll probably be some variation of Pokemon.
No, that's you're like going years ahead. Your kid will play games this year, but they will be
I wouldn't consider those games.
Okay.
Interactive learning tools.
yes,
Right?
yes.
That's what if
You
you're talking
make
about
sure-
digital
you make sure to
triangle fit in the triangle.
you tell Avery this
Yeah.
is not a game.
It's not a game. You're learning
Yeah.
right now. You're learning. Take that smile off your face.
I gotta say,
Increase that IQ.
peeing on your parent while they're changing your diaper, also a game.
Yeah. There was a winner and there was a loser.
And there are trick shots.
Very good. Very good. What's the story about a World of Warcraft Pokemon run?
Well, it's just a rumor. You've played Pokemon Go before?
I know of it.
My 11-year-old got back into it this trip, which is a perfect opportunity to do it because he was away from Fortnite and had a mobile device. So, really, since they added raids, he hasn't played at all. But now they have essentially you can go on raids to actual locations in the real world with other Pokemon Go players and fight the big Pokemon together. Playing that got me kind of playing that with him over this past break got me a little bit, a little more excited about Pokemon Go. And then I got excited about this news because Kotaku is reporting that Blizzard has in development a World of Warcraft version of Pokemon Go.
Built
Collect
by
those Murlocs?
Niantic?
Yeah, sure there'll be Murlocs. And who knows? It is supposed to be much more complicated. It's not as basic as Pokemon Go, where you're walking around doing basic things.
We were in Azeroth all along.
As someone who was hooked on the World of Warcraft for a small period, but deeply memorable of my life,
What are your hopes?
just that they can take Pokemon Go a little bit further. I want to go on quests. I want the quest master at my library to send me on a quest to the canyon in San Francisco in order to get a bunch of wolves, and then I bring the wolf pelts back to the library.
Sorry, honey, I got to go on a quest.
Dude,
You picking up some groceries? No, I'm collecting wolf pelts.
that would be amazing.
Real wolf pelts? No.
I'm mining wood in the forest.
Am I crazy? You guys don't get that at all? That would be fun for me.
I get it. What's the over under and how many minutes before somebody Leroy Jenkins themselves?
Yeah, right.
In the middle of
30?
traffic.
30? I think 30.
Yeah.
Upgrades, what have you.
Niantic isn't associated with this, are they?
Loot, you find, I don't know, maybe go on raids. Maybe you got 4 people to get together in the real world and go on a raid.
But what makes this WoW essential? Why does this need to be Warcraft branded? Why can't this just
could be
be
any
IP? Why can't it be Dungeons and Dragons?
Totally, dude.
This could be D&D.
It would be the fact that it's World of Warcraft is getting a Fortnite license. I mean, it's huge. It's just a massive hook to get people interested from the start.
Here's a question. How does Pokemon Go, which Niantic first had their other kind of ARG that seeded info from users and also from maps data. How does Pokemon Go differ the experience from country to country when the data sets are different and the geography and the city designs are different?
I played internationally. They're pretty solid data sets, and it's just population based typically. So I've played in rural parts of this country. I've played overseas. It's fine.
So you play their first game.
I play Ingress still.
Ingress,
yeah.
right.
Oh God, the shame.
Did
I
you say
felt
still?
like this
Did you say
wave-
still?
Yeah, I felt a
He
wave
said
of
still.
shame.
Yeah,
I
he
felt a
still plays
wave
it.
of shame.
Wow. Okay.
It's fun.
I like the aesthetic of that game. It's very Tron.
It is. And they released an update to it the first time in, I think, about 6 years, 2 weeks ago.
Whoa.
And it is awful.
Well, the problem is the data set is also shared because the data set is the real world. So when you talk about multiple games using the same data sets or even just the same geography, if people are all running to the top of Twin Peaks, one's collecting Pokemon, one's on an Ingress mission, someone else is hunting Murlocs, that's not going to be as fun.
It's fine. It's really the people that are way too serious and double park their cars to do it. They're the
Yes.
problem.
Run through Central Park.
That's the problem. But
Oh, that
I think you
video.
lack imagination if you think it's not fun to have all of the...
I think it requires a lot of imagination. You're right. Because there's not a lot of game to it.
You're right. That's what I'm
Wait,
saying. Like, what if Blizzard can pull that off?
I want to tell you about something I saw. I was at this shopping plaza on Slope Boulevard. Norm knows which one I'm talking about.
Yep.
And these 4 teenage kids walk outside of a restaurant, and they approach a stack of real pallets, and they start mimicking the Fortnite chopping action. No pickaxe in their hand. They are just fake chopping pallets in the real world, no devices in their hands, and they're there for at least 3.5 to 5 minutes.
Why are they doing that?
Because
I don't know, but
the
I felt
the graphics
bad
of the real
about-
world are so good. Right?
This is ultra high resolution.
Oh my goodness, the HDR and that sunset tonight.
It made me feel very sad.
I had a good time asking all of the young people on my Thanksgiving trip how many Fortnite dances they know.
Oh boy.
And they all have a number. Like, I know one. I know the one. And I always say, the main one. And they all say, floss. I'm like, yep, that's the one.
I don't even know. It's
I
the floss.
have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know the flossy?
No. No.
All these kids know these dances.
My kid, again, not there yet. Maybe 5 years down the line.
You don't need to be here. This is not a happy place that we're at doing all this information.
Was it? I think Greg Miller said the best thing to do at Thanksgiving, you have other kids in the room. If your kids in the room, it's like, in some random moments, go, "Oh, is this Fortnite?" and have them explain Fortnite to you.
Hey, in my experience, kids love explaining Fortnite.
Exactly. It's story time. This is the thing they really care about. Now, if you in Thanksgiving, if you were saying, "Hey, is this a Red Dead game?" which people did say, "Is that a Western game?" Oh, I could tell you stories. And Red Dead may be the next game I'll be playing because Red Dead Online just went into beta this week. And
Is it fully open now?
I think by the time you listen to this, anyone who has purchased the game and played the game can jump into the beta. Rockstar was very secretive about what the beta would entail, and now we're finally getting details as people are playing through it, and it turns out it's almost like just a co-op version of the single-player game with new missions, strangers, you and there are up to 32 players on a map on the server, and you can group up with 8 people or 7 other people to have a posse of 8 people and ride horses together and complete missions.
You could do that in the first one. I don't remember it being an add-on. I remember just being part of the game.
Online?
Yeah.
Well, maybe this was. I mean, this is an add-on in the sense that it's not like an extra
No, I
download. It's just they released it later
Yeah.
than the.
Can you actually play the single-player game?
No.
Co-op.
You cannot.
Okay.
And that's because the single-player game is so story-driven, so singular character-driven.
Yeah.
With the voice acting, that is its own experience. And I will say, as someone who's put in 80+ hours into Red Dead 2, the main story is amazing, but once you finish Chapter 6, which is the end of the main story, you can stop there. You don't need to go into the epilogues.
Podna.
Yeah. So we alluded to Black Friday purchases earlier, but I don't think we actually heard, what did you guys buy?
Oh, so
on
many
the
things,
shopping
Norm.
weekend.
Whew. I got the deals coming out of me every which way.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I got
There's the lotion for that.
socks. I got 2 belts. I got,
For yourself?
yeah. I bought the most mundane things in the world. There are not many great deals. The thing that I've been most excited about is I finally bought a Fire Cube. And I really enjoy the voice integration with its ability to turn on and off the TV and just go right to the media I want.
Tell the Apple users what the Fire Cube is.
It's a device that Amazon makes to spy on you in your living room.
Which one?
It is the Cube that is essentially the direct replacement for sort of the set-top Roku or the set-top Apple TV. Via HDMI standards, it can communicate with a TV or a sound bar. And so it basically has replaced my Harmony remote and all the macros I have associated to it.
Can it hear you over top of the TV well enough?
Yeah, it seems to hear me fine. And I love being able to fast forward by voice.
X number of minutes? That's interesting.
Yeah. The problem with FireCube is the Cold War with Google that has been going on for years now, it feels like.
Yeah.
Because they have added YouTube back into it, but it's YouTube via browser, so voice controls don't work. And so as soon as that drops, so the whole Google ecosystem becomes available with voice, I think you really have something. Because I got to say, the Google Home integration with YouTube TV was great. Being able to fast forward like 2 minutes via voice through commercials was pretty fantastic.
Didn't Google recently allow YouTube on the Echo Show?
Yeah, but only via browser. So you don't have voice control over it.
Got it.
I think there's more work to be done because there's only certain apps that have the voice-enabled controls. So like Netflix has it, but something like Plex doesn't. So I can't look at my own library that I have on a NAS that way. But all that being said, I'm really happy with it, and paying like $50 for it was kind of a steal. That's basically what like a high-end Roku costs.
Well done, man. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Speaking, yeah. I got baby stuff. Garbage diapers.
But for like $3 off, though, right?
Not even. Guess what? Baby stuff never goes on sale.
To subscribe and save.
Yeah. Yes. That's basically it. Yeah. There was nothing was that attractive this year for me. I know TVs, obviously, like the big things. I bought a TV last year, so
Yeah,
it's good.
you're good
on
for
that.
a while.
Yeah.
The only things I really got is it's my kid's birthday. He doesn't listen to the podcast, but I got him a Switch. He saved up money for it.
You were saying this out loud?
Yeah, he doesn't listen to this. That's crazy. And I got some Nintendo games for some dollars off, which is like a rarity.
Yeah.
I did buy PSVR for friends and family. So there was a good deal on PSVR for $250 with the motion controls, and that's a good price.
There's some decent deals on some VR stuff, but
Did you hear what happened with the Oculus codes, by the way? So everyone who has an Oculus account has the ability to share 3 codes
Okay.
with whoever they like. When you share it, you have to choose the product. Is it going to be a Rift, an Oculus Go 32 gig, or 64 gig? 3 different SKUs, right? And then you give it an email address, and they get a code for that SKU.
For a percentage off.
Yeah,
Discount.
it's 10 or 20% based on how expensive the thing is. Well, apparently, like this worked for any Oculus account. So it didn't have to be one that you use. So people were opening up just new Oculus accounts and sending out the
codes for percentage off.
Yeah, and of course the owner of the code gets store credit. So it's like, you people were doing this to self-service. And then Oculus shut it all down.
Oh no.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know that was a thing. I just sent one code to my cousin, who, by the way, I brought the Oculus Go to this hotel I mentioned, to my family reunion. It knocked a bunch of people out. Like, the Oculus Go is still impressive to people who've never done VR before.
What were the things they liked the most?
I only showed them, what's the
roller coaster?
minecart thing?
Yeah,
where
yeah.
You're shooting things.
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's the roller coaster one. I know what you're talking about.
Do you know, can I just tell you, my mom is number 5 in the world at that game. Coaster Combat.
What?
Number 5 in the world on the worldwide charts.
And is your mom an expert video game
She's
player?
a ballet instructor. Go figure. Anyway, that was too bad because they shut the whole thing down. You can no longer share codes, at least last I checked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sharing of a headset. Did you wipe down the lenses?
What are you're like
You wipe down the lenses?
you're like Jerry Seinfeld.
It's a lot of sharing. You know, if we did some tests on those lenses, you might find some surprising amount of maybe human matter on the lens that you're pressing against your eyes, which is what happened on the touchscreens at McDonald's in the UK. Study was done to check the bacterial content on McDonald's touchscreens.
What'd they find?
A lot of fecal matter.
I want to come out here and just sort of interrupt the story and say this is not a big deal at all. Your phone is probably the dirtiest thing in terms of fecal matter that is on your body next to like the actual rectum. Like it has a ton of fecal matter on it.
I'm touching a lot of butt these days.
Yours especially so, Norm, probably has some extra stuff on it. I will say, I mean, Adam did this. They did a couple Mythbuster shows on this, and it didn't matter whether you took it into the bathroom or not. It just builds up that stuff from the air over the course of the day. And of course, a restaurant that has bathrooms in it is going to get a bunch of fecal matter on it.
Employees must wash their hands.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that for the customers, does it?
I think the scare isn't that it's fecal matter, because I think you're right. Anyone who's watched that Mythbusters episode knows that it's everywhere, and maybe in more places than you think outside your bathroom. But we're talking about a user experience flow where you are there touching that screen specifically because the next thing you're likely going to touch is either your credit card, cash, or the food you will eat. And I don't think a lot of people go order their fries and then go wash their hands or use Purell before eating said fries.
Guess what the next dirtiest thing besides a phone is that you have on you?
Romaine lettuce.
Well, not anymore. That recall's done.
On you, that you have on you. Credit card?
Your money.
Yeah, money.
So
Yeah.
like the
Dirty money.
so like this exists now. Are you using the credit card machine at these places?
Yep.
Guess what? Those finger pads are also covered in fecal matter.
Never cleaned, probably.
No.
You should see my daughter's iPad screen. It's probably like makes these screens look pristine.
Clorox wipes everywhere.
Oh my god.
Use Clorox wipes.
No.
Use
This
Purell.
This is normal to have fecal matter isn't a bad thing unto itself. I just said that out loud. Great.
I still think it's good practice to carry around some antibacterial.
For you, it is.
Yes.
At the current stage you are in your life, that is useful.
Norm's gonna be the guy in line at McDonald's who cleans the screen before he uses it.
No. I'm clean my hands after I use it.
Clean the screen, man.
Why do I want to clean this?
Help people out.
That's McDonald's job. They're taking away jobs by using these machines.
Oh, that's
BTW.
It's true.
So speaking of touchscreens, the interesting article I found online this week from inkandswitch.com, but it was analysis about latency on screens. This guy wrote a pretty deep dive analysis of why it feels like touchscreens have latency and what is the perceptible amount of latency, a measurable perceptible amount for most people, which I think I disagree with. He says, I think that for about 80 milliseconds is considered, anything above that is considered slow. Anything within that 20 millisecond range is considered responsive. I think it's a sliding scale. I think for some people who use touchscreens a lot or other variables like the refresh rate of the screen you're using or the type of interface, touch and hold, or if you're using something that the animation, is there an animation? I think all of those build into the perceptibility of latency, but it's really cool because there's high resolution, high speed footage of touchscreens at high frame rate using styluses on Windows devices and Apple devices. And, he has the iPad Pro using specific apps like the Notes app, the built-in Apple app, having the lowest latency of 20 milliseconds for any stylus-based touchscreen. And then something like the Samsung Galaxy S3, an older device, using a clunkier app, even like Canvas, up to 75 milliseconds of latency, which is why it just feels
You think at
laggy.
75 that makes a difference for like a you and I? Because I get this latency makes a difference for like the artists a lot, like the high-end users. But if you're using a stylus just sort of casually.
You said you and I, like user interface.
I know.
That's good. I like that.
I think it does matter. I think we expect a certain amount of responsiveness, and I think we've had this with keyboards and mice for generations of computing before touchscreens, and that's why for mice you would download this program to increase the polling rate, so it would refresh faster and feel smoother. And for some people, even the digital keyboards they have today are not as responsive, they feel like, as some of the analog ones they had.
I think that the threshold for where it bothers you has to do with what you've experienced up until that point
Well,
in
yeah,
time.
it's relative.
I don't think a lot of people who've been Android forever care so much about the latency that they experience on there because they don't notice it.
But if you're on an iPad Pro with 120 hertz,
Yeah, and then you try to
using
go
that,
back,
yeah,
and it's different. It's sort of like when we were playing Quake over dial-up. You
Yeah.
know, we had
totally.
a quarter-second latency.
And a lot of the point this article makes is that at some point we reach a limit. Like it will not get faster than 20 milliseconds just because there's just layers of software and low-level software that needs to run to process the signals, and you're going to get noise, and you're going to have to process signals, and so combined, you're going to get 20 to 40 milliseconds, which is good enough, and that's just where we have to live with for the foreseeable future, unless you're using paper.
The ultimate low latency.
That's right.
Infinite frame rate.
Yes. What is the frame rate of real life? That's a philosophical question. All right, moving on. A couple of machine learning stories this week. This one a little more cynical. NBC Universal is going to start using, according to Adweek, machine learning for advertisements on its programming.
What do you mean?
So this theoretically would solve the Hulu problem. The Hulu problem of binge watching a TV show and getting the same ad every ad break.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have the inventory, or they don't have the software, the back end to serve up different ads. I don't know what it is, but NBC Universal is going to run their content through machine learning algorithms to identify products in the shows, and then theoretically run products in those categories as the ads following those segments.
So that makes no sense at all.
This is reverse product placement. They're pulling the ads out of the show and translating them into real ads.
Real ads.
It makes no sense, right? It doesn't make no sense.
No, it makes sense in a sitcom setting.
Why?
Like if you're watching Big
Any
Bang
real-world
Theory and they're like eating cornflakes, now you get a cornflakes ad.
Why? But why am I any more likely to like cornflakes because it was in the show?
Because it doesn't matter if you like the ad's supposed to make you like it. It being in the show is supposed to prime your brain to receptive the idea of seeing something cornflakes related.
The fact that it's in the show is supposed to be a subliminal thing that it affects my interest in
Well,
it.
guess what? That's
Because I like the show.
machine learning will decode that subliminal message
Yeah.
and make it more visible.
I'm like, do you think YouTube TV already does this? Because it plays ads on content and it knows a lot about me.
But that's about you. And that's
Yes.
maybe even a better way. So there's an argument about what is the more effective marketing tool. Is it about catering to the user's history and what they want and may purchase and need at the moment?
Yes.
Or is it about, in the moment of watching a block of content and television, what their brain is primed to discover? And, because you make the argument for sports, wow, the machine learning says that you're watching a TV show, nature documentary in the Sahara Desert and in the jungle, and it knows through the machine learning that it evokes feelings of warmth and hotness. Well, let's run a Coors beer ad right after the segment to make you feel like you want refreshment, or a soda ad or something.
No, this is the first
No?
one. This
Yeah?
is the first one, yeah.
Yeah, you'd rather have your search history.
Give me the advertising that is the good thing. Give me the advertising that knows enough about me to know what I need and help me out.
I find that the problem with those type of ads, where if based on your search history, browsing history, cookie stuff, is that they have no idea what my intent is when I originally browsed or searched.
Well, that's
that
because we're
product.
interacting with a stupid version of those ads
Yeah,
right now
stupid.
that is just based on our history and is less predictive about our future.
No context sensitivity.
But Google knows enough information to do something better. It knows that I sat in traffic for X amount of time.
But does
It
it
knows
know?
it knows that I go to X grocery store
Yeah.
to buy stuff. It knows, knowing where you go is a powerful information about telling me what I want.
It knows your friends and their birthdays.
The clearest example for me of a failure is when I
Have you bought something for Jeremy? His birthday's coming up.
when I eBay search for a product, right? Like Amazon search, eBay search, whatever, retail search to find the lowest price, and I do it a couple of times or have a save eBay search or something, and then it thinks, oh, I must be interested in this. Google is going to show me a ton of ads based on this product, but guess what? I've already bought it. Yeah, I bought it, and these ads are wasted on me, and they're annoying now because it doesn't know that I've already met that criteria.
Yeah.
And it's wasted ad dollars.
Early days.
Well, yeah, it's scary when it gets to the good days.
Yeah.
Then we'll be longing for the early days.
Minority Report.
Yeah. Speaking of more machine learning and AI learning algorithms, Amazon has released has announced and available for pre-sale a physical product, an RC car. Except what's controlling it is a deep learning algorithm.
What?
It's called Deep Racer.
Wait, can I buy this?
You can pre-order it, $250
Whoa.
right now.
What?
Yes.
What does it do?
Well, it uses reinforcement learning, a type of machine learning. So it does trial and error, and it can have it learn how to successfully go around racetracks. It's supposed to, I guess the idea is to teach programmers the physical benefits of implementing machine learning, tangible benefits in the real world. Yeah, there's an Atom processor on board, a camera, Wi-Fi, and open Intel computer vision toolkit.
So there's some level of programming that allows me to compete with other people who buy the car? Is that the idea?
Yes. Yes.
So like if I'm a more clever John Carmack, I can win the race.
I don't know about winning the race. I think it's more of a proof of concept for like, here you can now try these variables to experiment and see how fast these algorithms iterate and what type of input you can put in.
It says I can compete in the world's first global autonomous racing league.
Yeah.
To race for prizes and glory.
Or like a $1 future credit as a digital reward for your no rush shipping.
We got to watch this. This will be AlphaGo for 2019.
Come on. We'll Tested buy one of these? Tested should buy one of these.
If we can actually program it,
yeah, let's program
and get it to work,
I'll do it.
Then that we'll definitely.
It does seem cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Going to YouTube and Google, a couple changes in that ecosystem. Google, first of all, their YouTube original programming slate seems to be fading, or at least next year it will shift away from the paywall business model. We're talking about shows like Cobra Kai.
Except that's one that won't. Like they've already said that one in particular.
Well, because it did so well.
That's exactly. Yeah, probably.
That's unfortunate.
I don't know. Did it do well, or did it do well compared to the other shows? I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, this makes sense. I mean, because I have YouTube TV, I've had access to the YouTube Red original content, and I gotta say, most of it hasn't wowed me. It's hard to compete with Netflix originals, which is much more situated for that kind of viewing for me. I still mostly use YouTube for the YouTube deep dives, like the YouTube rabbit holes. I'm currently on like a tool restoration rabbit hole.
Heck yeah.
That is so satisfying. And it seems like they're just pivoting back to more of that free content. I don't know if that means they're moving away from higher production, which is what I keep seeing in the channels I go back to.
Or they're finding that users who watch that type of programming will bear more ad breaks.
Yeah, could be.
As many ad breaks as watching a show on television. Well, on the other side, Google has now rebranded Project Fi. No longer a project, it is now Google Fi and open to iOS users. iPhone users can now get their cellular data and calling service from Google.
And I believe Samsung, like any non-Android or non-Google Android device. So Project Fi, now Google Fi.
Quick recap. What is it?
It's basically $20 a month just to have service that gives you like call and text. And then you get charged by the data you use. So it's $10 per gigabyte up to 6 gigabytes. And then that's capped. So the max you'll pay for an individual line is $80 if you use 6 gigs of data or above. But if you aren't a heavy data user, it has an opportunity to save you money. This is based off an infrastructure that uses T-Mobile and Sprint data lines. So I would underscore having two services, especially if you live in urban settings, can be good. But T-Mobile and Sprint's coverage in rural locations in this country is somewhat more limited than like AT&T and Verizon. So you have to make the individual choice based on that carrier. They're usually not very upfront about disclosing that they use T-Mobile and Sprint's lines. You have
And
to
US
dig a little
Cellular.
bit. Yeah. But I think that's sort of important to know. If you travel internationally, you get locked in at the same rate. So your data rate when you go internationally is still $10 a gig, which is awesome for any international users. I love it because I use pretty consistently about 3 gigs of data a month. And
only
so I
60
come out to about
$50.
$50.
Yeah.
And then the months where I don't use a lot of data, I'm saving money.
Your wife's not on it?
My wife isn't on it. She has an iPhone, so she hasn't been able to be on it. So, but she has Sprint, so it makes no difference to her service-wise. So we might port over to a family plan.
Is there a
No.
family plan that's a better rate?
It's a minor savings,
Okay.
but yes, there is a family plan.
All right.
Now, the question is, as Sprint and T-Mobile and other networks move to 5G, does Project Fi also get the best quality of service from these piggyback service providers, or
We don't know.
will they prioritize their dedicated subscribers?
I saw a 5G test car
Wow.
parked in Noe Valley. And
Okay.
it looked like the most pirate radio thing you've ever seen. Like, it didn't look like it rolled out of some computer lab. It looked like it rolled out of a dorm room. All of this car was covered in antennas, and inside it was just packed with routers and specialized equipment. I didn't know what it was, so I walked up and asked the guy, and he said, "We're scoping the 5G signal."
Did it
Scoping
any
out
particular
the 5G signal.
Yeah.
any particular
stop the
company?
signal.
They contract for all of them,
Oh,
just to see what to test the actual connection.
I want to see a picture of this car. Did you take a picture?
No, the guy was there. It was cool though. It was cool.
I would say, just wrapping up Google Fi, I think it's an awesome service. The Google support around it is really good. So I've really enjoyed being on there, but it's not for everyone. Like, Norm should not get this plan.
I use way more data, and they slow you down after 15 gigs,
Yeah.
even though you're only paying the 6 gigs. I know they also tap in the Wi-Fi network, so it seamlessly just piggybacks on Wi-Fi to try to alleviate.
It's not as seamless as they say.
Yeah, that's my fear. Yeah. Speaking of cars, Jeremy, we have
Yes.
a little bit of car news to talk about. The big technology news, we want to include cars and tech this week, is GM's unfortunate shuttering or planned shuttering of 3 manufacturing plants in the United States.
Unallocating.
Oh, jeez,
That's
terrible.
horrifying.
Yeah, affecting tens of thousands of jobs, huge portion of the workforce, and also ceasing production, essentially ceasing orders on the Chevy Volt,
With a V.
the V.
Yeah, it's sad. Our friend Zach Radding has a Volt.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how we met, because I was curious about it and he reached out. And he loves his car. I don't know a Volt owner who doesn't.
Well, the Volt will still work, right? It's not like Tesla shutting down
But
essentially.
it's an interesting solution. Like, it's a certain amount of charge, and once you expend that battery charge, it switches to the internal combustion engine.
it's a hybrid.
It's not. It's like it's the different. A hybrid would use both simultaneously, whereas this is like.
Well, it's the
there's-
modern hybrid because like a
Sure,
lot
okay.
of EVs, a plug-in. It's a plug-in. I don't know. There is a
There's
name
people
for it.
Yeah.
screaming at the
I know.
podcast
Yeah, but there
right
are
now.
plenty of cars right now with a small battery that will do
Yeah.
20, 30 miles of range. Good enough for your daily commute.
The sad news here is that potentially more than 10,000 people will lose their jobs. But this car and others are in probably short lifespans now. They are not planning to cancel the Bolt with a B. They're still betting the farm on that in terms of the future of the company, and obviously it plays a role in their ride sharing and autonomous car.
Yeah, they spun this
Future.
whole announcement as looking toward the future, which they said is toward EVs and autonomous vehicles.
Yeah.
And GM really hasn't had a big autonomous vehicle play. I don't see the concept cars. You see concept cars from Audi, from even Chrysler, where they have autonomous designs where passengers are facing each other. The drivers and the passenger seats are pointed inward as opposed to facing outward. I don't see any of that stuff with GM. I mean, maybe it's a CES thing.
Cruise Automation uses the Bolt, at least here in the city, for their autonomous vehicles.
Waymo, which is Google's autonomous car division.
Did they spin off? I was curious about that. I thought they did spin off.
They're spun off in Alphabet.
Oh, they're a separate
Yeah.
company inside Alphabet now.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It's not independent.
Got it.
Right. They are resuming their autonomous car driving.
No.
in test-
They're resuming putting drivers back in. Like they were the one autonomous car company that got approval to be driverless
And then have
in
incidents.
Arizona, right?
in Phoenix,
Yeah.
but
And
also in Silicon Valley.
Oh,
And now, for some reason, they have put the safety driver back behind the wheel. Now, earlier this year, they had an accident where one of their safety drivers dozed off. I don't know what? Like, how does that happen? I get that there's nothing to do, but you are still behind the wheel and you got one job, right? Like, I don't understand the dozing part.
it's probably a pretty boring job.
And when the safety driver dozed off, safety driver's foot hit the gasoline pedal or the brake, deactivating the autopilot,
Oh my God.
and bumped into a barrier. I think everybody's fine, but I think that might have led to this putting the safety driver back in. Anyway, fine, great, safety first. That said, I want to get to the safe autonomous future as soon as possible.
Yeah. Going back to the GM factory shutterings.
Yeah.
There was some speculation online of like what would happen to these factories in these spaces, and a bunch of people put forward, well, this seems to be a great opportunity for Tesla to come in and buy the factory, as they did with the Numi plant in Fremont, where the Model 3s are being made. And it's unfortunately not as simple as that. There was a perfect fit. It turned out when the Fremont factory was shuttered, that was, I think, a GM and Toyota collaboration. And these 3 plants are all, I think they're union-based plants. I don't know if Tesla wants to move into that space, and they don't know if if they can work with the equipment there, because Tesla is, they want a lot of robotics in their plants. Also, they have the big factory in China that they're spinning up. But it is true that, if they can get the real estate cheap, because real estate, the land for one of these factories is a big part of the cost, it would be cool for an electric car company, Tesla or otherwise, any other one, to move in, take over the factory space, and rehire the workers.
Yes.
Speaking of Elon,
Oh.
if he's around anymore,
Let's see,
we
yeah.
got a music cue.
Yeah, let's do that.
And so we enter Elon's shower.
Question: is Elon's shower on Earth, or is it on Mars?
And what is it like to shower on Mars? Is it a little different?
It's a little slower.
Yeah.
Did Mark Watney take showers
you don't
on Mars
feel
in
it
the
as
book?
much, right?
Sonic shower.
Sonic shower.
That's right. I
No.
just went full Star Trek on there.
By the way, just watched that movie again.
It holds up.
Damn, does it hold up?
Yeah.
It's like even better
Yeah.
because the world's a little darker now, and that's a very positive movie.
It just looks fantastic.
Yeah.
On like a big screen, a good screen.
Yeah,
I love
the 4K HDR.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You heard it here first. We recommend The Martian by Andy Weir.
You might have actually. We go way back. So yeah, I guess HBO. Do you know what this series is? It's called, what is this series called?
The Axios series.
Yeah, is that just what is that about?
Axios is kind of like an inside the Beltway Vice type of news organization, and they have a show on HBO where they've mostly been interviewing like politician types in the lead up to the midterms, but Elon went on there. If you've watched like Vice on HBO, it has like a similar kind of feel to it, but a little more personality driven.
Do they focus on one interview every
It's like
episode?
It's usually a couple.
Okay. Well, Elon was interviewed on this show on HBO, and there's a clip, or at least one clip, available online. And Gadget did a little write-up on it and pulled out the most interesting quote, which is Elon Musk says there's a 70% chance he'll go to Mars,
That's a number he's pulled out of his ass.
based on the facts.
There's poo particles on this story based on where it came from.
He says that there are some recent developments that make him very excited.
It just means 70%. It means more likely than not.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a quote here.
That's what he wanted to get across. It is not a. That is. You can't derive that number.
Look, the fact is there's a guy who has his own space company who has plans to go to Mars. And he is planning to go there one day.
He wants to come back too.
This is like the closest we've ever gotten to somebody maybe going to Mars.
I think he would only care if he was the first.
I don't.
He did make an analogy to Shackleton going to the South Pole, And I think he made that analogy to underscore how dangerous it is. Because if you study Shackleton's journey, it is really messed up.
You
what
have to
happened.
set that up because the interviewers one of the guys kind of made a fool of himself when he asked him how likely was it to go, 70%, and the interviewer said, "So this is kind of an escape hatch for rich people."
A parachute for rich people.
He called it an escape hatch because Elon had said it would probably cost a couple $100,000, and so the response was, "Oh,
Poor analogy when you're talking about space.
this
also.
is an escape hatch for rich people."
You don't want to open hatches in space.
To which Elon Musk responded, "No, are you freaking crazy?
Yeah.
Like there's a good chance you'll die on the way. Once you get there, if you survive the landing, you're spending your rest of your life building a base in an inhospitable environment. Maybe you can get home."
So this is the part that I think is just totally crazy. This isn't the 60s or 70s. We're not in the midst of the Cold War. I think the public's appetite to have someone perish en route is so low now compared to then that we can't run expeditions
Unless it's
like
Elon
that.
Musk. I think people would be happy either way.
I just think like
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I think we just watched First Man, and where you watch the Apollo 1 disaster, and you see everything they went through, where things feel like they're held together by duct tape. But we had to beat the Russians, and so there was this driving force. We don't have that to go
I
to
think
Mars.
appetite is probably the wrong word. The tolerance, right? The tolerance for
Tolerance.
failure is
Yeah.
much lower these days because of the cost.
Now, like any minor failure, and we've seen this with, what happened with the recent Soyuz launch, means like nearly shutting down the program.
Now here's the sad thing: is the question the tolerance for failure because of the monetary costs and the equipment costs of going a second time and relaunching, or is it actually human lives? Because that would make the case that it's unfortunately in today's day and age, people are doing more of the accounting losses than the human life consideration.
I mean, unfortunately, you're right, but also I think there's a media component to this because we're gonna watch this. However a human goes to Mars, we're gonna watch most of it, and that wasn't the case back 40 years ago. And I don't think we want to see a human
Streamed exclusively to your Tesla.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Why do people go to race car races? Like that's pretty dark, but this is so much bigger. The scale of somebody going to Mars and tuning into that, knowing the dangers exist, and you know that they would hype up the danger factor. I think people would
feels wrong.
I think people would just have that on, just like they're dedicated TV to it.
I'm wondering-
I'm not arguing with you on the merits of that, but it feels wrong. That's not how we shouldn't be watching that as a reality TV show.
So here's the question: is Elon Musk, whether it's himself or someone else, if it is himself and something he's considering, which based on this interview seems to be the case, like he is totally putting himself out there as a potential, either first passenger or one of the people to go. What do other astronauts think about this? Do they think he is someone with the fortitude and the discipline to carry out a mission like this, let alone the deserving aspect? Because he paid for it, whatever, or it's his company. But could someone like Elon Musk make it?
Maybe. I mean, he is an engineer. He might be a useful person there, but I just can't get images of Wayland Corp out of my mind when he talks about it this way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious what astronauts think too. But I think that they've traditionally had a very different job, which was to explore and return.
There's no way we're sending a one-way mission. There's no way.
We? What do you mean?
We as a human race are not going to have a one-way mission to Mars. I just do not see where that's going to be okay.
I think there are some people out there, astronauts included, who would maybe not publicly say it, but privately would in a heartbeat sign on for a one-way mission to be the first.
There's no way we'll okay that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Of course.
No way.
Yes, way.
Because there's not enough money in the private sector for this to be funded independent of a government expenditure. And there's just no way I've heard NASA administrators say there's no way we're doing a one-way mission to Mars. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I can see how NASA wouldn't want to do that, but I could see how a private space company like this could make it happen.
But this isn't a fully private thing. They're using public resources to get there.
How so?
The SpaceX's main income stream is from NASA.
Yes.
And there's no way they're going to launch an independent expenditure to Mars. They don't have the money for it.
Yet. Yeah. I mean, like, SpaceX is also privately for hire for a trip around the moon. Right? For you and 7 of
But
your
that's
favorite
not one way.
artists. No, it's not. No, but I'm saying they have other revenue streams.
That's not going to get up there. I don't think the math works. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop being so indignant.
Wait, you want to go?
No, I don't. No way.
You don't want to go?
There is no calculation that I should be in the top half of candidates on this planet to go to Mars. The people that go to Mars should represent the best of us. I still believe in that ideal.
Like Cirque du Soleil?
Sure.
You don't think Elon's like one of the best of us, just in terms of dreaming up big ideas and engineering and being, I mean, he's done so much professionally compared to everyone else.
He's also demonstrated human failings.
Sure. Yeah. Well, damn him. Well, his Boring Company has pulled out of making a tunnel in LA's West Side. I guess that was one of the places that they were going to actually provide a public service of boring a tunnel to help people get from one place to another place faster.
2 to 3 miles of underground.
Exactly. Apparently, some of the people who lived above the tunnel, proposed tunnel, objected to the tunnel beneath them.
Sounds like standard NIMBYism. Or what do you call it when it's a tunnel? TIMBYism?
Yeah. Well, I guess to be expected. But so they said, never mind, we're not going to do it.
It'd be Tumberism.
Tunnel under my backyard.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. And that will do it for technology news. I also want to thank the other sponsor that makes this episode possible, and that is Caseta by Lutron Smart Lighting Control, brought to you by Lutron, pioneers in smart home technology. With Caseta, you can schedule your lights to come on at dusk so your family comes back to a well-lit home. Caseta by Lutron takes your smart speaker, whether that's an Alexa, Google Home, Apple HomePod, and makes it more powerful by letting you control your lights with your voice. Caseta is the most connected smart lighting brand, and it works with more smart home devices than any other smart lighting brand, letting you pair lights with other things like security devices, thermostats, and music systems like Nest, Sonos, and more. And because it's from Lutron, you can rest easy knowing it'll just work. Our hands are increasingly filled with things like diapers and babies, and unable to do things like turn on lights at 3:30 in the morning, just saying from personal experience. And so being able to turn on a light and use a dimmer via voice control is something that has become extremely handy in my life. So get smart lighting the smart way with Caseta by Lutron. Search for Caseta, that's CASETA, or check out lutron.com to learn more. Caseta by Lutron, welcome home, peace of mind.
Now it's time for a moment of science. In any of your youthful indiscretions, did either of you swallow any coins?
On purpose? No.
By accident is fine too.
You've never done that thing in elementary school where you try to see how long it takes to
What?
pass something or whether it goes away?
You
the
did
story?
that?
Like gum. I've swallowed gum before.
Yeah, I've swallowed gum too, but that's not what Kishore asked.
No, but
But you've done like it just absorbs or doesn't pass your body for 7 years. Like that's the urban legend.
nickel is as big as I ever went, but I've definitely swallowed a coin
Ouch.
in my life.
And you got it back?
I mean, I saw it.
Clink.
You
but-
did?
But I did not retrieve it. Yes.
How long did it take?
It took about 4 days, if I recall.
Holy cow.
And the reason we know that is because some brave souls in the 1970s volunteered for a series of studies that would determine when coins were swallowed by children, what was the average time for them to pass, and did they usually pass with any changes to the coin itself. And they typically found that coins pass 3 to 6 days because, kids like to swallow stuff, case in point.
Crazy.
But there are other things in our life that kids have that are small items that tend to get swallowed. And this week, a new study emerged about one of those items, Legos.
I can imagine that.
And so for the first time, a study was done on how long it takes for people to pass Legos.
Mm-hmm.
And they found
Lego pieces.
Lego pieces, yes. I mean, and it wasn't defined. I mean, it was in the study. They talk about which pieces, but they didn't. I don't think they ate any minifigs and like any specialized like one-time pieces. These weren't from UCS kits. Let's like.
I would think that that's the concern we have, right? How dare you waste a UCS limited kit?
That's worth
on
worth
science.
a lot of money. It could appreciate.
I would think that if you're going to swallow a Lego piece that you want to pass quickly, it would be a minifig head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice
Yeah.
and smooth.
And cylindrical, yeah.
Yeah, small sample size.
Stud down.
Oh, of course, always studied out. There was one person in the study who did not retrieve his Lego piece.
Oh boy.
Too bad for him. But it typically took about 2 days on average for Lego pieces to pass.
Now these were adults who did that.
Yeah.
But they were studying it in the interest of pediatric care. So
Mm-hmm.
physiologically, infants and babies.
The digestive system isn't dramatically different in terms of timescale. So plus or minus a day, depending on there's so many factors here. Let's talk about all the factors that go into poop, Norm.
This is the poop per minute factor of this episode is high.
It's off the charts.
Got to be the highest ever.
It's off the charts. We are moving away from that because now it's time to talk about some serious studies. I think most people have probably heard about the story about CRISPR editing in 2 babies that happened in China. It actually the news dropped the same day as Insight, so it might have gotten sort of buried underneath that, but this was a big deal. A scientist in China, he actually studied here in the U.S. He was a postdoc at Stanford. His lab conducted gene editing of 2 embryos via an IVF type of artificial insemination, and edited a specific gene, and I'm going to go into the scientific details in a second, to make it more HIV resistant. And these babies were born and are alive, and he has confirmed since then that there is a second pregnancy underway where this edit has happened.
Weren't the parents somehow...
Yeah, I'm going to get into the parents in a second. I think there's some critical details. One, no paper has been published about this. He released the information in the way all great scientists do on YouTube. And so it's not even in a preprint right now, so no one knows what's going on. He's been interviewed at a gene editing forum in Hong Kong, which was less than satisfying. So the parents, he enrolled 6 sets of parents where the father was HIV positive and the mother was not. And the idea here is there's a specific gene called a CCR5 gene that has a mutation on it that tends to protect against HIV entry into the cell. Now, for whatever reason, there are some geneticists out there probably know the reason. This mutation is not common in China. And so the idea of this study was about sort of exploring that. And so he developed in CRISPR a guide RNA to sort of guide it to its target that would replace it. It was tested in mouse models and in a monkey model, and then took that monkey model. They saw no off-target editing, meaning like they didn't cut where they didn't want to. But they use like you have to use a reference to determine if there's any off-target, and he used a reference from this company, Illumina, which is not, according to most CRISPR experts, the right resource guide, the reference guide he should have used. Anyways, he takes the monkey, the product, the guide RNA developed in the monkey model, and does it in a human being. Does it in an embryo that born into human. This is so wildly unethical. I don't even know where to begin. Like, we knew this was coming, and I haven't been this mad about a story in a long time. This is so insanely wrong, what happened. This is just like a violation of humanity on some level. Because what he did is, without understanding the potential side effects of what an off-target edit could be, he's produced people now that have to live with that. And
long term, not just this generation.
not this generation, that could be heritable. What's going to pass? He, instead of doing it in what typically the edits that we want to do are in cells that won't pass. So if I like edit, a skin cell in you, Jeremy, that's not going to pass to your children now because that's not a cell line that passes down. He did it in a cell line that passes down. He's now going to affect these girls' babies as well. And that edit without understanding the impacts of the off-target is so wildly ahead of what we should be doing. It is sickening. It's like, honestly, it was sickening that this has happened.
Despite any approval he had of the parents.
That consent doesn't matter because the children can't consent to this. And then moreover, his university has decried it. Every scientist has come out against this and said that this is wrong. I think there's even been indications that the Chinese government doesn't care for this. Culturally, they have a very different scenario about editing, and their tolerance for it is really different than here in the U.S. But that doesn't matter. This is just unethical from a scientific standpoint. I do want to call out the fact that we just don't know if this even worked. Like at this point, people are even questioning whether this edit happened because he hasn't provided any data to back up that this edit has occurred. And the fact that it's part of a second pregnancy already is about as horrifying of a thing as I've heard in a while. Again, one thing I want to specifically call out, and it feeds into our next story, is you think a cell in your body and the next cell over have the same DNA because it's you, right? Wouldn't it have the same DNA?
Yeah.
There's a lot of conditions that we have within us, a lot of cell types in our body where that's just not true. There's a thing called mosaicism where there's going to be different DNA in different cells just based on like errors during division processes, the way heritability works. And that's especially true in neurons, and it could be true here. So we have no idea the accuracy of these targets, and to conduct this kind of edit without understanding the context of where it occurs is just horrifying. I don't know how else to say it.
I mean, so much. I mean, this is going to be a slippery slope because this is not the first and only time I think this is going to happen. But
No,
it is something that
inevitable.
And I mean, is it in a way that, because I remember growing up, there was a lot of hubbub when like the first sheep was cloned, that reproductive cloning became a big topic and controversy, and that never escalated to a point where it happens regularly, and laws were passed preventing the research into those spaces or practice.
Sure, but that was also done in an animal. And I get that there's people that probably have strong feelings about that too, appropriately so. But it didn't cross that line where we did human cloning without the context of societal approval first. The other thing is he did this in the context of HIV. And this is like
he hid behind this as the goodwill attempt.
This is a slap in the face to that. We don't do medicine this way, where there are other treatment regimens in place. First of all, the babies have a much lower risk of getting HIV anyways during this method because the cell lines are washed. The likelihood they're going to get HIV was basically zero. And then his argument is that now they're less likely to get HIV in their life. That is ridiculous preventative care to do this. That is totally inappropriate. And so I think it's a slap in the face to the medical community and certainly to the HIV community. This story will be interesting to follow because it'll also emerge like who is where people fall in this. But as it stands, the entire scientific community I've seen has come wildly down against this move.
But how do you feel about it?
It could go either way. Our last story picks up on that mosaicism idea because there's a really interesting story that dropped right before Thanksgiving. So I was mentioning how our different cell types don't necessarily have the same DNA in them, and that's really true of neurons. There is a gene that is in our neurons called APP. It's an amyloid precursor protein gene. And this gene has been associated significantly with Alzheimer's. Basically, this gene can produce this amyloid, and that forms into plaques, which leads to Alzheimer's conditions. What they always expected is that there's mutations on these genes, like variants that emerge in that gene that leads to more of this formation of this plaque. And they always thought there was a few kind of mutations that led to this. What they found is that they analyzed patients with Alzheimer's and looked at it. They had thousands of mutations in these APP genes, a factor like a 6-scale factor more than we thought before. And this is totally fascinating because now we can target Alzheimer's in a really different way, which is looking at how this APP gene gets replicated as cells divide. And if there's a way to sort of block that, maybe we can actually reduce the introduction of this mutation.
Right. So it's getting a little hot in here. So pardon me if I'm a little slow. But are they thinking this may be one of the new root causes of Alzheimer's?
It's hard to say if that's the root cause. This is almost sort of like how it progresses, because it's not like it's the mutation itself that could potentially be the root cause, but they're trying to stop the mechanism by which it propagates.
Got it.
But this is a really interesting, I think, kind of a landmark study. And it will be interesting to follow how they are able to slow the progression of that mutation.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
So since the three of us have podcasted, we got to do something in VR together.
That was a while ago.
I know. We haven't podcasted in a long time. We played the new Rec Room Quest.
What's it called?
It's the Crescendo of the Blood Moon?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nicely done. You still got it.
15%.
You still got it, man. We have not beaten it.
No. And
we've gotten far enough to learn that there are save points now.
Oh my God. You jump right to the top of the matter. I don't know if I want to beat this anymore because it does not have the same.
But you don't know. You don't know, like, you have to beat it to find out if it was satisfying or not.
That's very true. Yeah. So to set it up, this is a kind of a horror-themed, Gothic-themed.
Castlevania.
Yeah, Gothic-themed.
You have a whip.
And there's a new weapon. So whereas the last of the Pirate Quest introduced some melee and the reloading pistol.
Oh, so good.
So good. The very first thing you have is a holsterable new weapon, which is a bullwhip. And the physics of the bullwhip has a learning curve.
Yeah.
You can get really good at it because you can reach really far. And you don't have ammo for this, so this becomes your de facto melee weapon.
Well, it's not just that you're supposed to hit creatures with it. You have to pull back. So like you
snap it,
throw it, and then you wait X amount of milliseconds, and then you snap it back. And depending on how long you wait, the explosion is further away. And sometimes there's a little bit of splash damage, so you have to sort of time it and get a sense for when to whip it back.
Yeah, very interesting. And you also use it as a way to get around the world because you can swing and climb up trees and other poles. Not essential, but really cool weapon mechanic. Still 3 players. Now, we played it, I think, a couple times. Got to a solid point where you enter this castle and defeated the first mini-boss, failed, died, and then it turned out, like you said, Jeremy, we respawned in the lobby of the castle, which was a good at least half hour into the campaign.
You were not thrilled with that.
I was not. No.
You know what, though? I don't understand that, Norm, because I asked them, like, how are you making content that most of your audience will never see? How do you invest your development hours in this stuff? And I mean, obviously, there's an argument to be made that makes it special. And that
if they were going to do,
people are going to work hard to see it, but you don't know yet if that doesn't also apply to this. Like maybe this campaign is longer or more difficult.
I bet it is.
In which case, like you're going to want those save points, or even you won't see the ending.
I wish that if they were going to incorporate save points, they would at least have the option of creating an Iron Man mode where you don't get save points and you get special achievements or special recognition for beating it all the way through.
So you're talking about taking 20 seconds to leave the room and go back in, and then you reset it.
Yeah. But it's not in there, is my point. There's no way, if we beat it right now, I would want us, the 3 of us, to play it without the save point.
That's the only way to get S rank.
Is that the only way to get S rank?
Yeah, you can't die.
Okay. Well, then I want us to get S rank.
Okay.
We didn't get S rank with Pirate Quest, but I look back at Pirate Quest. I look back at the number of times we had to go through that mission.
Yeah.
And how long it took us to even uncover some of the later parts of the map. I don't want the scale of difficulty of this quest to be where we're spending most of our time in the later stages because they're difficult. I'd rather it be difficult all the way through, but have a learning curve where we can get better at it, and so there's discoverability every time we play.
I'm with Jeremy. I think like the repetitiveness of having to go through like the early levels over and over again wears on you. I felt that way with the other ones.
Yeah, but we got to a point where we're so good at it, where we were going through those choke points, and it was fun to hit those choke points night after night. And some nights we wouldn't get further, and some nights we would get further, and there would be discoverability. I'm really afraid that this lets you just binge it all and take it all in without the rewarding effect of having that time spent.
Yeah, I think that we'll look back on the early quests with nostalgically and with fondness.
Yeah.
There's something to those.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said, if you want to play this through without the save points, you can do that. You just quit, go back in, start from the beginning.
Extra 20 seconds. No, it's too easy. The crutch is there already.
Why is Tetris Effect on here? You put it on the show notes.
Because we've played it
Oh, okay.
in VR.
We haven't talked about that on the podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Have you talked about it on the podcast?
I thought maybe you saw something about the PC release.
Oh, no. Is there a PC release?
Oh, yeah, it's not first party. Like, it'll come to PC eventually. I'm certain of it. We just don't know when.
In this variation, in this form.
Yeah, man.
How can you be sure?
It's not because it's not a Sony first party game. It's
It's a third-party game,
Yeah.
but we don't know whether the exclusive was such that
it's
Sony...
timed. It's got to be timed.
We don't know.
I bet it's timed.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It's not it's not a Sony-developed game.
You won't see Astrobot coming to PC.
That's true, because that is a Sony first-party game, and they're in the business to sell headsets and games. But Tetris Effect, I'm playing it more not in PSVR.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Convenience.
Yeah.
Just easy to turn it on, turn it off.
See, I think it'd be great on the go.
I completely agree.
That Oculus Go.
Or the Quest, whenever that comes out, right? Like, this is a perfect mobile headset game. You don't even need it six off.
Nope.
Yeah, this is a perfect put on a mobile headset and play. It's a little bit expensive, but I think you can get there's a lot of game there. Speaking of exclusives, Borderlands VR was exclusive for PlayStation, and now it's been semi-confirmed that it's can only be a time exclusive. So if Gearbox wants to release it for PC, which there's no reason they wouldn't want to, it will also come out on PC platforms on Steam at the very least.
What is that? Is that a new game or
No, it's a remake of Borderlands.
Of the
Borderlands
first one?
2, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
For VR, single player only, no multiplayer.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Virtual Desktop came out tomorrow? So the day this podcast comes out, I think Virtual Desktop for the Oculus Go will hit your Oculus Go store, and I've tried it. I don't think Norm's had a chance to try it yet, but we've had the opportunity. I've had the opportunity to give it a chance, to give it a try over the past couple days, and I gotta say it works very well. It is a very low latency desktop experience. Has many environments to choose from. I like the one that's actually a PC. Like you're just at a desk and you have a big PC monitor in front of you.
Boring.
You say it's boring, but it's actually you get the best resolution because the screen's right in front of you and it's quite big, and it feels good. Like you can read the text, you can play games on it, you can actually sync a gamepad up to the Oculus Go that will translate into a gamepad on your PC, so you
And
can
the latency isn't that bad?
play games. The latency is it's worse than people are making it sound. There's lots of videos out there saying I don't detect any latency. No. If you're a gamer, you're going to detect latency. And I think we could make an interesting video that actually shows it, because you can see on your computer screen mirrored into the Go. And if you can capture both, you can see it and we can measure it.
Yeah.
Or you can measure the sound. But it's whether or not it's good for games remains to be seen. It's certainly fine for some types of games, but the Twitch games maybe not so much.
This is a way that you could get like YouTube TV streaming in your Go.
Oh yeah, no, it's great for any kind of desktop consumption. I mean, it's great for that. What I've seen nobody mention, however, is the remote desktop opportunities. So you can actually take your Go with you and access your desktop anywhere on the internet.
But you would need some type of peripheral.
No peripheral. No. You don't have to be on a LAN. You don't have to be on a local network at all to access.
No, but I mean, like, how would you control your remote desktop?
The same way you control your remote desktop locally with the Go controller.
The Go controller as your mouse.
Yep. And you can connect a USB keyboard, or using the mouse, you can pull up the virtual keyboard.
Right.
So
right.
you got full control. And so if you go somewhere else on the internet, the guy who wrote the program incorporates a pairing server for your headset and your streaming app, which is running on your PC. Now that's the same pairing server that it uses if you're at home or anywhere else. So they can talk to each other. It finds out where your computer is. The only thing you have to do on your computer side is either turn on Universal Plug and Play in your router settings, but don't do that. You have to open up 4 ports, and we'll put the ports in the show notes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said, the guy who actually wrote the program is going to write a FAQ, put those ports on his FAQ. But if you do that, you now have a really good remote desktop experience anywhere in the world.
No, that's my question is, from an experiential standpoint, remote desktop on my laptop is great.
Yeah.
Right. On the phone, remote desktop apps work, but the user experience is a little clunkier with the keyboard and the screen and the resolution. Here, you can make the screen as big as you want because you're in VR. It doesn't make that much of a difference. And what do people usually use remote desktop for? Some media management, some...
Oh, really? See, me, I always use it. Like, I'm somewhere and they're like, hey, can you give me that file? I forgot to send you.
Media management.
Yeah, or just like you forgot to send somebody something,
Yeah.
or you need to search something, or get a file, or listen to an MP3, or whatever it is.
Cloud isn't working for you?
Just have. I take my Oculus Go headset on the go when I travel nowadays, and so now that's like it's actually quite an ideal remote desktop experience, and that would be probably my primary use for it. Sitting around the house, I don't see the use case quite so much because I could sit at my computer. It's not like the computer's not in use if I put the Go on and use it from a different room. It's not like it adds a monitor. It takes it up. But it's a really neat opportunity to access your computer when you're away from it.
Very cool. And that, again, is available as you're listening to the podcast today for Oculus Go users. I think, actually, that does it for this podcast.
Does it? Wow.
Anything you want to talk about? One more thing?
Don't think so.
No? Yeah?
Okay, I got the ports.
I got the ports. All right, let's hear the ports.
All TCP ports. 388.10, 20, 30, and 40.
388.10, 388.20,
Yeah.
388.30, and 388.40.
That's
there
right.
you go.
All
I think
TCP.
we know the title of the show.
So catchy.
It won't be. I won't remember that. And that will do it for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. We're in the holidays. You guys set up trees yet?
Trees going up this weekend.
Same here.
I'm going not real tree for the first time in 5-6 years. We're going
Good.
fake tree. It's expensive.
Welcome to the club.
But, I couldn't. Who could go out and haul a tree? So I had one delivered. I got to set up tonight. I did leave the house to pick up some food, and I've already started seeing some Christmas herpes lights on the houses.
They've spread to your house already?
Not to my house, just in the neighborhood. I've seen laser lights on houses,
Oh, yeah.
and it doesn't look good. Still doesn't look good this year.
Does that mean laser lights are on your house?
No, not my neighbor in the
Okay.
neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but projection mapping. Come on, it's been a year.
Show them the way, Norm.
Hey, Lightform, get in touch. All right, we have an outro.
Yeah, Steve Guan.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
You just line it up with the crosshairs, and it says
Jurassic Park VR, a scientist experience.
the whole time that you are. I don't know. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Nick, who said hi in the mall the other day. Came up, podcast listener in town from England. Said hi. He would say hi to you guys too if you were there.
Hey, Nick.
Hey.
Bye.